I am an open book when it comes to mental health. As you will know, I discuss mental health and taboo topics online, and today I'm going to be talking about mental health medication withdrawal because it's been requested in some of my most popular videos. I want to make it very clear I am not a medical professional. All the opinions given in this video are my own, based off my own experiences, and I always recommend you discussing any medication, whether that is withdrawing, increasing or decreasing, with your medical professional. With that being said, let's get into the video. In terms of mental health medication withdrawal, the two medications that I have the most experience with is Mirtazapine and venlafaxine. So they are the two that I am going to be discussing, but I do believe from researching online that a lot of the medications for mental health have very similar side effects. So that is the two that I'm going to be concentrating on, but if you don't take those but you're taking other medications, this may still be helpful for you. I'm firstly going to talk about reasons why people might be coming off mental health medication, because there are quite a few reasons. The first reason might be that the medication just was not working for them. They may have been taking it for a while and the effects have begun to diminish and it isn't really working for them. It might be that they didn't like the medication or how it made them feel, or it just didn't do anything for them. It can also be, which is something that I have experienced a lot of, prescription issues. So I will order my repeat prescription but it doesn't come on time, or for some reason there's a delay, they haven't had the ingredients, the pharmacy haven't remembered to stock up, so many different reasons that someone might withdraw from a medication non-intentionally. There can be just forgetting to take the medication. I do this all the time, and depending on the shelf life, for example, we're going to discuss something with one of the medications in a moment, but that withdrawal can come on fast. So they are some of the reasons why people might stop taking medication. If you are taking medication and then you're going to be stopping for whatever reason, I would be interested to know down below. Remember to keep everything positive though, please. Now, the symptoms of withdrawal can differ, again, from person to person and dependent on the medication. However, I'm going to go through some pretty popular, I wouldn't say they're popular, pretty common symptoms of withdrawal from a medication. One of the big ones can also be a symptom that you feel when you first start taking the medication as well. So it's called buzzing, and the only way that I can explain it, if you haven't experienced it before, is it's almost like a buzzing inside your brain, or even you may just be sitting here but then it'll feel as if you go with your head but you haven't. Your head hasn't moved but it feels like it's doing that. That's another really common symptom to happen that I have experienced a lot of. Again, similar to that, there is also brain zaps, which is just like as if you've got like little electric shocks going on inside your brain. Also nausea, night sweats. Now, night sweats can be a massive withdrawal symptom. For example, I have learned that if I miss even one dose of my venlafaxine, that the following night I will have horrific night sweats. I also do get brain zaps and buzzing though at the end of the day or midday. So venlafaxine has quite a short shelf life in terms of its effects on you, so you do have to take it pretty much the same time every day, otherwise you kind of do notice. And I will know sometimes, like I will be in work and then I will start to feel that zapping and that buzzing, and then I will remember I haven't taken my medication. Agitation is another big one now, and I know from experience that when I have had issues with the prescription and I've had to go sometimes a week without taking it, bear in mind I've been on this medication now for quite a long time. If you were someone who was taking it for a couple of weeks and then started weaning off it, I don't think you would experience quite dramatic symptoms. Again though, this is something that you need to talk to your doctor about. I personally have been through hell when I have not had my venlafaxine for over a week, or sometimes a little bit longer when there's been prescription issues. I get nauseous, I get night sweats, horrific night sweats, headaches, the constant buzzing, constant moving, major agitation and low mood. But I don't think the low mood is because the venlafaxine has stopped working and it is my depression or my mental illness getting worse. I think it's low mood just based on how disgusting and horrible that I feel when I'm not taking them. Again, that would be from a full stop. So I've been taking it consistently at the right dose and then stopped and not had anything. So it is rough. And another couple of symptoms would be erratic behaviour, anger and exhaustion. The exhaustion, I think, is because you're just fed up. The anger, again, is because of how agitated you feel. And then the erratic behaviour can actually be the most worrying of symptoms, because if you've got a medication that you are using and taking to keep your brain in check, to keep it balanced, because you've got an imbalance that is causing your mental illness, if you then just grab away the thing that was helping without slowly tapering off, you can imagine that your brain can go a bit haywire and people can make very rash decisions or irresponsible decisions or even life-threatening decisions. And a massive part of that irrational behaviour can also be suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts or suicidal thoughts. This is why it is so important to take the advice from your medical professional when coming off a medication and not just stopping it because you no longer want to be on it. You should never just straight up stop a medication, no matter how much you know that you don't want to be taking it anymore. Don't just do a cold turkey on mental health medication. It is so dangerous. So I'm going to be talking about tapering off now. Tapering off mental health medication. This is your best friend. Tapering off is your best friend. Like I've just said, you should not be, especially if you've been on a medication for a very long time, just cold turkey and cutting it off. You need to start slow. So what your doctor normally would recommend is that you slowly decrease the dose. So for example, if I was on 300 milligrams of a medication, they would reduce it over the course of a few weeks, the same way as they would increase over a couple of weeks. They wouldn't just give you the highest dose. They would see how it goes and then increase if you need it and then increase if you need it. But with tapering off, you would start, say for example, you would be on a 300 and then for a week or so you would go down to 250, then you go down to 200, then 100, and eventually stopping taking it, because you may still get side effects from the reduced amount, but it's not going to be the catastrophic, unable to cope side effects that you're going to feel if you just completely cold turkey off a medication. Obviously, if you are on the lowest dose, then it may be a case of taking it one day, missing a day, taking it one day, missing a day, and then increasing the space between that. I found that that's been helpful in the past when I have tried medication and it has not jived well with me. It's also, in my opinion, important to have constant contact with your medical professional when you are reducing medication, as well as family and friends. If you have someone that you can trust within your circle of friends and family, let them know that you are coming down, reducing your medication. If you've got a job, talk to your employer, your manager, just to let them know things might be a bit difficult over the next couple of weeks, but this is why, and could they just be a little bit more supportive or understanding of certain behaviour or feeling a certain way. Because another thing is that a lot of people who are coming off medication will also be trying a new medication as well, so you have to really taper off to start a new medication. So there's normally a couple of weeks or a couple of months where things might feel a bit messy, and it is always important that if you are having any thoughts of ending your life, that you speak to your medical professional immediately. Something that I think a lot of people also want to know about from my comment section is if a mental health medication makes you gain weight. For example, Mirtazapine can often be known as a extreme weight gainer. I do want to make a video in a bit more detail about this, because I've made a couple in the past, and as much as I stand by the information that I said, I also do know that I am coming from it from a position of someone who has suffered with an eating disorder and disordered eating throughout my life, and so I am someone who does struggle with not having control of my weight and also weight increase. But I do want to make a more detailed video, because I am back on Mirtazapine I believe that in my last video I wasn't, but I think you could probably tell if you go back and watch it. I'll leave it up here. I was struggling with the fact that the medication helped me mentally, but the weight gain was causing me distress, and I did eventually stop taking it. However, that did not lead me down the greatest of paths, and that's probably why you haven't seen me doing full-length videos for a while, because I was not in a good place. So yes, I'm going to touch on the weight here, but I don't want people to concentrate on that as the main thing, the main side effect or concern. From my own experience, for example with Mirtazapine, yes, weight that I gained I did lose, but I also lost more weight, I think, than intended. The problem is going cold turkey on Mirtazapine, which is what I personally have done before and do not recommend, not only affects you mentally, but it affects you physically. I couldn't eat anything. I felt so sick. I completely lost my appetite, and because I'd lost my appetite in the initial just completely coming off the Mirtazapine, and I was eating next to nothing, I then didn't really gain that appetite back because my stomach got used to not eating much, and then I did end up losing a lot of weight. And I know to some people, especially in a disordered eating state of mind, might see that as a positive. However, it's kind of counterintuitive, because if you end up back on the medication like I did, you can assume that it's making you gain excessive amounts of weight, when in reality the initial weight that you are gaining is weight back from the extended periods of not eating properly, if that makes sense. And I do think a lot of people also don't realise how much mental health, even if you don't have an eating disorder, can affect how much food you eat, which in turn affects what you weigh. And then when you start to feel better because of medication, you will start to eat better, which means you'll gain weight. I do know that in terms of Mirtazapine, it does increase your hunger, and there's other factors. However, I think the initial weight gain that, yes, you may lose doesn't actually have anything to do with the medication itself. It's more a mindset of, I am now not hungry anymore because I might not be as mentally well, if that makes sense. Like I said, I am going to go into the video, but yes, in my experience, for those who are extremely worried about weight gain, who do not have any issues with eating and just gained weight, in my experience, the weight does come off. It doesn't come off overnight, but it will come off if your food intake was massively increased during Mirtazapine because of the hunger, and then you go back to eating a normal amount, the weight will come off. But if you are still eating the same amount, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And I think people get so caught up in the fact that they've only gained the weight because of the drug itself. But then if you come off the drug and then you are eating the same amount because it wasn't actually the drug, it was your mental state, and then you don't lose weight, I think that people can feel quite disappointed. So I just don't want people to hold out on hoping that they will lose a lot of weight. And if you go cold turkey and then you, like me, become very unwell, that is it's not a positive. And I do think that you need to discuss that with your GP or your doctor, especially if you're feeling like that's something that you want, because I've been there and I can completely understand, truly, but it's not healthy, and I think you know that. So that is my weight gain section of the coming off medication. I know this is not the longest video, but I did just want to come back to YouTube and try and ease myself back in. And I could see there were so many questions in the previous videos that I've done on venlafaxine and Mirtazapine. So I hope this has helped answer some questions, but please, any other questions that you have, leave them down below. I am going to aim to do more long form content. I've been concentrating primarily, I think that's how you say that word, on short, just because, like I said, I was not in a good place. I am feeling a lot better than I was. I hope that you've all had an amazing Christmas, holiday, New Year, if you celebrate or if you don't celebrate or whatever you celebrate. That is everything for now. But like I said, questions down below. Wherever that you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, day or night, and I will see you again next time. Bye.